Hi, my name is Sari van Pooijen. I'm the director of Intact Academy, where we teach coaches and consultants to do executive coaching and team coaching, and also to become supervisors of coaches afterwards. I also run a business called Agile Business Innovation, where I help businesses innovate more quickly than their products. If you want to know something about that or take the scorecard, please go to agilebusinessinnovation.com. So we're talking about team coaching. We talked about what it is, the focus you need to have, the levels of diagnostic you need to have. And now we're taking the levels one by one to really figure out what it means. So we talked about the structural level. Now we're talking about the level of dynamics, or the interpersonal level or relational level, if whatever you want to call it. Really at this level, it's about how people relate within the team. And if you're doing well, the relationships between the people in the team are such that they're willing to give each other the benefit of the doubt, and that they're willing to support each other. If one person has a problem, the other person says, hey, what can I do to help you? What's also an ideal team for me is when really it comes to the wire, that everyone kind of gets together and does what needs to be done, regardless of their status or their position or their role in the team. So I really see the dynamics are going well if there's cohesion, if people really want it to survive. But I usually see them then helping each other, complementing each other, doing what needs to be done, disregarding, their egos really, and working together seamlessly as a team. So where one drops the ball, the other one picks it up. That's the ideal. Truth to tell, in 35 years, I haven't really experienced a lot of ideal situations at the beginning of the client request, obviously, because they've asked me to come in for their team. Usually I see teams that are in disarray, so both at the structural level, but at the dynamic level, what you see is that people have conflict, or there's latent conflicts. People are just focused on their own thing and not really willing or able to deal with other people's problems in a discipline right next to them. I see that that the leadership is not really focused on creating cooperation as a task. I think the leadership has a task in that. And I also see that there is very strong informal leadership that undermines the formal leadership. This is when it's bad. I talked about when it's good, this is when it's bad. So when I look at teams at the dynamic or relational level, I look at, are there, at the first thing I look at is, what is the levels of games being played? So are they really, is it kind of basic irritation that people are expressing, or is it really to the level of, if they continue like that, they're getting fired? We call that, at the team level, those games are at the boundary. So we look at the intrigue, the games between the members, or we look at the agitation, the games between the leader and the members. If the level is really high, that's really one of the things you should focus on as a team coach, to de-escalate those games, to teach people about conflict and conflict management and how to give feedback. That's usually a competence that's missing, rather than a conscious manipulation. I find most of the people I work with are okay people. They want to do the best they can. And sometimes they get caught up in a system where there's a lot of dynamics going on that they don't really want. So you have to teach them something about games, about conflict management, about de-escalation. I often teach them about soft starts, but we'll get to that later. The other thing I look at is, how are people expressing themselves in their role? So is it like a military team where everyone has to be exactly the same, like an identikit of Marvel comics almost? Or is it, you know, you can be, how much can you be yourself in that team? And actually, the more people can also be different in their roles, the more sustainable a team is. So the inverse is also true. So the more people have to over adapt to whatever the leader thinks they need to be in a role, the less sustainable a team is. Um, so one of the things I also look at is, you know, do you have room for expression in this team? Is there a room for emotional expression, for intellectual expression, for dialogue? We call that persona. So that's what I look at as well. One of the the third thing I look at is social distance. It's a long time ago that I thought, well, it's interesting. We have theories about time and time management and in teams, but we don't really have theories that relate to space management. I mean, literally the proximity, management of proximity. And I've talked about that in other blogs as well. One of the theories I use for that is Edward Hall with his proximity theory. Really interesting. He talked about different levels of proximity people have, intimate, personal, social, public, and how that plays out in the way you interact and manage your proximity map in your life. But the same goes in teams. There is a proximity map. And the thing that disturbs a team most is if there are, the first thing is if there are favorites for the leader. So if some people are closer, experienced as being closer, and some people as being further from the leader, that's something that really causes a lot of dynamics in teams. And the other thing is when a team is more mature, when there is like couples in the team, like you have little bands of brothers that stick together. And when decision making comes along, you can almost predict how they're going to swing their votes, as it were. So one of the, so social distance, I really look at who's close, who's far from a team. You can do that through sociograms as well. And I look at how can we create more balance in this distancing within the team. The more equidistant people feel, so if their intimacy level is okay, you know, you don't have to be best friends, but if the intimacy level is okay with everyone in the team, then the team is most sustainable. The dynamics, the persona, the social distancing, really also determine how much influence people have in teams. So you can imagine that if you're closer to a leader, you feel like you have more influence, you probably play an informal leadership role. If you're the one who controls the dynamics in the team, you have a lot of influence in the team as well. So by as if by magic, if we sort out if we make people aware of the dynamics and really create more cohesion in a team, if we allow people to be more themselves in a team, and if those distances are managed well, as if by magic, the influence sphere becomes more divided amongst everyone. And so everyone can participate and have influence, and that makes a team more sustainable. So the question for you is, at what level are you playing games in the team? Is there enough cohesion in that team? Can you be yourself? And are there favorites? And what kind of effect does that have in your team? I wish you luck.